O japonês começou a rezar, velho. Rapaz.
Do we see a Mungus come out from Robbie's end? I think it makes sense for Robbie to have it in the back. You could go a mode with like Tornadus, Flutter, Keytran, and Mungus, for example, and then switch Flutter out into a Mungus early on, bait out those Terras, put things to sleep, and then sweep with Flutter and Keytran. But here we go. Game 1.
Aí, chat, primeira partida da Sinner.
And there's Tornadus and Flutter. You called it, Rose. And there's
Ó o dog.
Oh my gosh! We got both of the fairy types on the field to be able
O late matchup tá bom pro japonês, cara.
Sui and Arcanine is gonna put a ton of pressure down.
O dog literalmente tem bom matchup contra os dois.
Fluttermane's not gonna be able to hit it very well.
Yeah, this is so interesting because right now you can go for Fairy Terra with Fluttermane, maybe go for like Sunny Day, Moonblast into the Sylveon, but Arcanine really in a good position against Tornadus and Fluttermane. This is an excellent lead to specifically cover.
Eu abaixei um pouco aqui, tá muito alto pra mim, chat. Eu espero que não tenha ficado muito baixo pra vocês.
You kind of just accept you're going to take a lot of damage, but this means Sylveon can get a Hyper Voice, but there's that Heatran. That's an excellent switch in right now.
Fantastic to be able to deal with the opposing side. It's going to be a great defensive Pokemon to try to take some of these hits, but it's going to be the Rock Slide, and that's going to deal super effective damage onto the Tornadus, and the Hyper Voice to follow it up does take out the Torn. However, Robbie now has a unique opportunity to be able to bring in something else right under that tailwind.
Yeah, one thing to note here is that his Sui and Arcanine does not have close combat, which it sometimes carries. So Landorus now hits the field, is able to go for an Intimidate, not valuable into the Sylveon, but of course quite good into his Sui and Arcanine, and Tailwind is set up. The Sylveon here, of course, is
Earthquake e Landorus com Terasofly Hitro, sim ou não, chat?
Fire Terra, you could of course get around the super effective hit from the Heavy Slam with the Fire Terra, but one play you could make on the opposing side is just go for Stomping Tantrum and Heavy Slam, which would cover for that Terra if it goes into fire.
Olha, esse Hitro é muito esquisito, como assim, cara?
Zapdos is in the back, that would be really helpful, but it's going to be Arcanine pivoting out first.
So Arcanine gonna go ahead and take a little bit of a reprieve as the Gastrodon now is gonna be able to hit the field, and whoa, it's a double switch here on this turn. So we'll see that for Zapdos. What a great switch.
So the question now is, what is going into that slot? It's going to be Stomping Tantrum into Zapdos.
The flying type is going to be able to keep it safe.
That's exactly what we were talking about.
Great coverage.
Péssimo turno pro holandês, sério. Ele era voice stack.
What a turn! What a turn for Tomoya to be able to read that switch, read those calls, and bring in the Zapdos at the perfect time.
The crowd goes absolutely wild right now. Gastrodon in a really interesting position. Of course, it has that Ice Beam into the Landorus.
Pokémon sendo bom jogo, chat, como sempre.
You of course have to worry about the Landorus now going for Stomping Tantrum onto the
1-0 pro japonês aqui, né? Ah, eu acho que sim, cara.
Grass Terra, Terra Blast here. One play I think you could make is honestly just protect Gastrodon right now and set up a Tailwind with Zapdos, maybe even just Thunderbolt into the Heatran. Right now, you have an early lead on Tomoya's end, right? So it's like trying to bait out a Terra, see what Robbie's going to do, and stall out that Tailwind, but an amazing first two turns.
And Fluttermane's going to come back in, just try to get some Intimidate cycles, keep that Landorus a little bit safe. But Zapdos has a great opportunity to go for the Tailwind to now stagger, being able to...
Hit Wave.
Misses the Zapdos.
That's a huge miss on that Heat
No
Wave.
Terras, it's just Earth Power, it's going to be Yawn. Okay, so putting on some pressure onto the Fluttermane. I really like the Yawn, honestly, because Fluttermane right now feels like it exerts a lot of offensive pressure, right? But if you decide to actually attack this turn, you're going to fall asleep, and Gastrodon could so easily protect right now. So Tomoya here could make it a prediction, right, and say, okay, well, I think you're just go back into Landorus. You haven't Terra'd, I can just Ice Beam into that slot. So this is really critical, right? Does Robbie say, I don't think you're going to play safely, I'm going to go for a Fairy Terra and just Moonblast you here immediately?
Essa primeira partida que já foi, cara. O Robin não tem... Não tem dano e também não tem mais controle de speed agora pra essa partida.
Yeah, absolutely. But I think there's a few Pokemon in the back that would not mind taking that too poorly. As we also look at, there's no Urshifu coming into this game. We've been able to reveal all 4 Pokemon on both sides.
Oh, no switch, no switch, okay.
And there is no switch on the board. So let's see what is going to take that Terastallization. And it is the Fluttermane. Will be getting that Fairy Terra type. You'll to boost up something like a Dazzling Gleam, a Moonblast. Take a few of these hits just a little bit better.
Does Gastrodon protect? It does protect! Goes for the safe play, and with Fluttermane not switching out, it's going to fall asleep after this turn. Robbie tries to play aggressively.
Rapaz, mano, o holandês só acertou uma read, cara, essa partida toda. Ó o Confusion. Muda Confusion.
Fluttermane's going to fall asleep right now. Tomoya is playing lights out in this very first game of the World Championship Finals.
E usar... Mano!
Zapdos too, just adding insult to injury.
That is such a great turn, and now you said
O cara esquivou 2 hit wave e conseguiu um static.
added to that stay-up card, and we will have to
O cara é muito bom, chat.
respond to this, but
Não é à toa que tá na final do torneio.
Has hit the tailwind just a few turns later. Will get the speed control in his favor once Robbie's tailwind expires, and this Fluttermane is
Olha só como o Pokémon é um jogo justo. O cara errou 2 vezes um golpe de 90% de accuracy e o oponente acertou um de 70% de primeira.
Another thing that's critical is now the heat train just doesn't really threaten Gastron, so you don't really need to consider a Terra on that anymore.
But wait, after the Intimidate drop, what kind of attack did
Thunderbolt e Ice Beam no slot do Landorus é safe, hein?
Okay,
Mas acho que não fez isso, não.
great switch there from Robbie.
É, não
Now
fez.
Power into the Heatran, super effective.
What?
Does not care about the assault as Heatran is now down. This Landorus can't even go for a Terra, so of course you can bring Fluttermane back out, but Fluttermane can't protect. It has to take a turn of sleep. You can very easily double up onto that slot with the Thunderbolt and an Earth Power. Try to just get the knockout onto that, and then Gastron just wins 1v1 against the Landorus. Tomoya, the defensive plays, the aggression onto Tornadus in the early game, and calling multiple turns to really just stall up this tailwind. Really beautiful play by him so far.
CGP aumenta RNG, é o cara tá jogando em casa, né, mano?
Zapdos on the other side, it is not carrying anything like a
E aí,
rock
Kate?
slide. And so the Thunderbolt into the Fluttermane, that's going to be the first attack. And
E o cara conseguiu um crítico aí.
Gastronon doesn't even need to follow that up.
Tipo, algumas RNGs que aconteceram aqui não importaram, mas foi engraçado, tá ligado?
We saw a couple of heat wave misses. There's the Earth Power. We saw a couple of heat wave misses earlier and the critical hit, but I honestly don't think any of those impacted this game. The main thing is if you had hit that heat wave earlier, maybe then you would think about more going for like a move blast onto Zapdos, for example. But I think in this game, there was just a huge lead, and Tomoya answered the Fluttermane perfectly, right? It's like if I lead Arcanine and Sylveon, the Fluttermane is put into a really awkward position. So Tomoya's going to go up 1 game in this World Championship Finals, and I can't wait to see
Robbie right away. Let's go ahead and find out as we jump into game 2 of the seniors.
Não, o estático não ajudou não, cara. O Hitler não levou nenhum full para, inclusive. O estático foi irrelevante.
Tomoya says, I'm not going to go with the same thing again. There's no way you go with Tornadus.
Eu acho engraçado como os comentaristas ficam excitados com a Silvia entrando, sendo que a Silvia não fez nada nas 2 partidas. Na primeira partida, quer dizer, e provavelmente não vai fazer nada nessa aqui também.
So well positioned into a Landorus plus Heatran. You can Ice Beam the Landorus slot, you can Earth Power Heatran. However, you still have to dance this awkward battle of where is Heatran going to target. It has that Grass Terra, Terra Blast. So I think from Tomoya's side right now, you want to fade out a Terra and see.
Não sei porque, mas eu gosto tanto do Cry da
The
Silvia.
other thing is, who do you Terra, right? Do you Terra the Gastron defensively? Do you Terra Sylveon? The thing is, if you Terra either of these Pokemon,
Mas ser bonitinho tem que comemorar, justo.
Exactly. So maybe we do end up seeing some sort of pivot, or you just lean into the Terra right away. Either choice.
Okay, no
It's
Terra.
switches,
Okay, we're just
no
over damage.
Terras.
Whoa.
That's a stomping tantrum into the Gastrodon, and the Landorus is gonna have to take a little bit of
Oh,
chip.
but he
Mano!
misses onto the Gastron. Okay.
Sylveon is still gonna
Ah, mas
be
deu um critical hit pelo
that
menos.
critical hit, but a Hyper Voice in return. Landorus is also gonna
O
get
cara não consegue acertar um hit wave,
There
velho.
is that Citrus Berry coming in clutch for a little bit of that HP recovery. And let's see, Gastrodon going for the Earth Power into the Heatran. No, Terra does not keep it super safe, and that is a low Heatran now.
So I think Robbie here, learning from the previous game, he split his damage in this one, but it makes a lot of sense because in game 1 we saw the Sylveon pivot out into Zapdos and just soak up so much damage. So in this end, Robbie's just looking for guaranteed free damage onto both slots, saying, hey, at least I know I am faster with my Pokemon right now. Very interesting to see no Terra on either end, right? Both players actually just kind of trade damage.
O tio japonês tá dando Bright Powder. Não, é skill issue do holandês.
They're both such low health at this point. Sylveon still in an awkward spot, so it's like, do you want to consider switching that into Zapdos, protecting Gastron, for example? Curious if Zapdos is even in the back, but it does feel like a really consistent bring to cover for that Landorus.
Zapdos might also be the perfect response too if you expect something like an Earth Power to come out, but it is going to be the Fluttermane switch in for Robbie. As we're going to preserve that Heatran for later. But the stopping tantrum is just going to go into the Sylveon. The survival is huge. Hyper Voice in response, and Landorus is down for the count.
3 HP on this Sylveon. It gets so much damage. There's Earth Power onto Fluttermane. Oh, but Fluttermane does survive.
Close. That Sylveon sure does love its trainer as it's going to be able to hold on. And as we do see the Amoonguss now, nice adjustment from Robbie to be able to slow down the pace of this game.
Oh, but there's so much.
Fala dele? Ih,
That
rapaz.
Sylveon, that's what I mean. Every single Hyper Voice puts in so much work. Fluttermane does critically survive that. I feel like if Fluttermane faints through the game, it's just over immediately. But the awkward thing right now is like, who do you terror at this point? Fluttermane is at 9 HP, right?
Fluttermane tem como vencer ainda, chat. Não acabou ainda não. Fluttermane tem sprite damage, tem bastante dano. O Among Us vai proteger a Fluttermane. Ainda tem jogo.
So a nice way to be able to protect itself as the Gastrodon does go for that. Sylveon is just going to go down in this turn, but
vai ser difícil pro japonês perder, mas ainda é possível.
By the way, this Among Us does have Leaf Storm, so it actually has a way to deal significant damage and knock out the Gastrodon, but there's that Arcanine. That's the perfect Pokemon to bring out right now. Does not care for
tá certo que, tendo em mente que o outro é a Arcanine Rissou, eu acho que já foi, já.
So now the question is, do you just give up your Fluttermane and play towards a Landorus endgame? I think that's what I would personally do.
I think you have to at this point, especially knowing that the Landorus also could terrestrialize there. You have to Terra Blast for a little bit later if you want to be able to...
Por que os narradores estão falando pro Rob sacar Fluttermane e vencer com o Landorus se o Landorus morreu?
Just taking a little bit of chip here, so Arcanine is going to be able to rock slide in response. It does get the knockout onto the Fluttermane.
Os narradores são com mais soul do que eu, cara.
Does it flinch is the question right now. First Ice Beam coming out, that's also a lot of damage. Doesn't get the knockout.
Doesn't get the knockout. It is a crit. That's
Bom
a lot of
crit.
damage, but Among Us is gonna use the Spore into the Arcanine, putting it to sleep.
Oh my goodness, this is so tense. One thing to note though is that this Among Us does not have...
Eu acho engraçado que o japonês se frustrou porque não conseguiu flinch. O japonês jogando esse jogo é tão esquisito, cara. Vai, filho, vença essa partida. Não vejo ele perdendo, não. Se o último for Zapdos, não ele perde.
Arcanine is asleep, so there are a few turns that Robbie has bought himself to be able to get back into this game.
Yeah, definitely. You're at least in a position where you can put on pressure onto both slots, for example.
Aliás, se for Shifu último também, ele não perde.
Terra Blast onto Gastrodon, right? But the question is now you're playing around when does the Arcanine manage to wake up? And there's the Grass Terra coming out.
I think you just have to go for it though. Especially when Tomoya is in just a little bit of a better position heading into the later parts of this game, knowing that we do still have that one and final Pokemon in the back. Arcanine taking its mandatory turn of sleep. It's gonna have to get through that.
Errou outro hit wave, nice.
Arcanine's gonna avoid that, but Gastrodon survives! It's just a sliver of HP!
It's the Arcanine sled, that means Gastrodon gets an attack off!
Mano, quantos hit waves esse cara errou? Alguém pode fazer as contas pra mim quais as chances do cara errar tanto hit wave assim?
That was going to be a huge amount of pressure there, but the battle is just canceled, and Tomoya Ogawa is your seniors division world champion in Japan.
That's two
a cara de frustração do holandês, cara.
Video Game World Championships, winning in the juniors division, winning in the seniors division. Congratulations to Tomoya. What a phenomenal...
Mas pra ser bem sincero, eu acho que o holandês perderia de qualquer maneira, tá ligado? O matchup tava muito ruim pra ele. Ok, o japonês começando com Power e Among Us. E trouxe Forest Ref, ok, fiquei surpreso com isso. E o alemão com Forest Ref e Dragapult. Eu tô curioso pra saber o que essa Forest Ref vai fazer, cara. Só que eu só sei que o Xianpao tá com uma boa vantagem aqui.
We heard in the interview that Icicle Crash could be a key element of this match. I guess the reason why is because that Triggograph is going to make the potential sucker punch from this Xianpao not nearly as threatening this Dragapult than it would normally be.
É, tipo, tem isso, né? A Forest Ref protege o Polt de Sucker Punch. E tem dois. E tem. Não, tem um Sucker Punch só, que o outro foi a Water. E terá o turno da parte do alemão, certo? Da parte do japonês. Terá Soul Aura. Provavelmente com medo de golpe Psychic turno 1, certo? Ele deu um spoiler no Dragapult, vocês viram o spoiler, né? Vocês viram o spoiler? Ele deu um spoiler no Dragapult, olha isso. Vocês viram que teve spoiler? Eu percebi isso da partida da Senior. E aconteceu de novo. Rapaz, cara, como tá bugado esse jogo. Vocês perceberam? Que jogo horrível, cara. Depois eu vou comentar pra vocês o que tá acontecendo. Mas enfim. O lado bom desse primeiro turno é que o Urshifu perdeu a 7. A possível 7, mas acho que ninguém tá usando o 7 Urshifu, né, atualmente.
Michael's side, if things get weakened, maybe you can pick up a chain of knockouts, even if you fall behind in the score early in the match.
Yeah, being able to keep the momentum going is going to be absolutely huge in the matchup between these teams. The Dragapult is definitely in danger, now it's asleep, and it didn't really get much done in that first.
Deixar o Polt dormir foi meio que ruim, mas ao mesmo tempo ele tem tempo pra gastar esse sleep, né? Porque o Urshifu não tem como nocautear o Dragapult nesse turno. Pela Keka entrou, uma boa switch.
As Rillaboom comes in, that is going to be a bit of a problem for that Amoonguss down the line potentially. Now it's a water type. Grassy Surge.
Dragodarks é aleatório, não, o Dragodarks bate nos dois alvos, né? O Rillaboom tá numa posição fenomenal aqui, cara. Eu não sei qual que é o set do Rillaboom, mas se fosse Altivest, ele lida com 3 dos 4 Pokémons em campo. Dos 4 Pokémons que o Kimura trouxe. Só o Shenpal que ameaça, mas eu acho que esse Rillaboom tem Terastro pra lidar com o Shenpal também. Se o alemão conseguir uma boa Sleep Roll com esse Dragapult, ele tem chance de vencer essa partida.
To keep that in mind, he's just protecting it this turn, doesn't want the Dragapult to wake up and get the knockout, as it will remain asleep. So this is going to be a good old turn for the Fluttermane as it fires off the Dazzling Gleam. Dragapult definitely not able to take that one, and it's going to be our first knockout here in the Masters Finals. Rillaboom, though, will
Rip Fluttermane. Crítico não importou, Fluttermane tem 0 de defesa.
So doesn't fall for the protect on that Amoonguss, and it's 3-3 already. Rillaboom taking a good amount of recoil, making sure it gets to activate a berry as well. So it's going to heal up with the citrus berry, and now we're in a very sticky situation as
provavelmente a gente vai ver o Shenpal entrando, porque é a única coisa que lida com o Rillaboom. Se o Michael tiver trazendo o Hitler, ele provavelmente vai entrar com o Hitler, então. Ou com o Urshifu Water, ambos podem lidar com ambos lidam com o Shenpal.
Yeah, I think that was the really big turn for both trainers, right? You've got to get a knockout there on the Dragapult, or else it's going to start waking up and causing problems with those Dragadarts. But Michael getting the Woodhammer knockout onto the Fluttermane means that one of those big offensive options is gone.
Eu tô com Fire Ref, sendo que o cara vai entrar com o Shenpal. Ele não quer revelar o último, mas tipo, era meio óbvio que o Shenpal ia entrar nesse turno. But Frigoraph is making sure that no sucker punches come out from that side. Não vou ficar surpreso se o Rillaboom der Terastro aqui pra se proteger do Shenpal. Mas o problema é que ele vai perder o Water Resistance contra o Urshifu Water, né? Ok, a Fire Giraffe tem Trick 1 pelo que o cara citou.
Frigoraph can almost try and help out on the offensive though. A couple of offensive choices on that side to help out. It is going to be the terastallization from
Terastro Rillaboom pelo visto, né? Exato.
And he's going with the Rillaboom, trying to keep it
Terastro tóxico.
with the poison type terastallization. One that is going to be
Eu não concordo muito com esse play, porque a Icicle Crash vai tirar muito dano.
There's the Icicle Crash. The Rillaboom will take that much better, sticking around.
E ele levou flinch, é.
This is a big turn as it's not able to get.
E ele tentou dar Trick 1. O cara começou tão bem essa partida, mano, e faz um play desse, né?
Michael was trying to set up so much in that turn, maybe just take out the Amoonguss, but not getting it done. What a huge momentum swing.
Oh, we saw a bunch of crazy turns in the senior division match, and they're happening right again.
Essa hack já importou. Aí importou de fato.
The Amoonguss that sport ever happens, likely Trick Room goes up. We're looking at a very different situation. Instead, Shohei picks a huge lead up here, evening out the knockouts, but as a dominant board position.
It's a really good board position. This Rillaboom not able to do much if it wants to go for one of these big wood hammers to try and take the knockout.
Eu acho que ele tentou nocautear o Amoonguss e deu Trick 1 pra vencer no Speed Control, tá ligado? Então o último Pokémon dele deve ser Hitran. Hitran ou Urshifu, o último Pokémon dele não é Shenpal nem a pau. Pela play que ele fez.
What that final Pokemon is with the fact he was trying to Trick Room on that turn. Rillaboom will protect itself. Shohei is feeling pretty good, just sucker punching into the Frigoraph. Doesn't really matter there. But of course the Frigoraph is going to remain asleep. Amoonguss will Pollen Puff, heading towards the Frigoraph, getting a good chunk down. This is once again one of those battle-ready Amoonguss that we've been seeing all weekend.
Eu acho que o Michael tem que arriscar um Double Protect e subir Trick Room, cara. Porque a Farid Ref tem uma boa chance de acordar nesse turno.
I don't think it was going to make any difference. Maybe getting a little bit of extra.
Ele pode tirar o Relabum de campo também, que não é um mau play. Se o outro Pokémon for hit, né? Da mais Chien-Pao. Pera aí. Era Chien-Pao? Esse Crash errou justo. Pra GF não deu Trick Room nesse turno, obviamente. Se o último era Chien-Pao, porque ele tentou tanto subir Trick Room, cara. Não concordo com esse play. Eu só sei que agora o Michael tá de novo na partida. Critical Hit não importou tanto assim. Does get to try and recover at least a little bit with this grassy terrain as it does disappear at the end of the... O problema é que é Koi Flip nesse turno, tá ligado? Porque o Chien-Pao pode se proteger.
But one key difference between these two Pokemon is that Chien-Pao does not know the Sacred Sword move. Usually it would be a big deal for trying to pick up the knockout on the other side. Because that Chien-Pao's been weakened by that surprisingly devastating Dazzling Gleam.
Ainda tem como o Michael vencer, mas vai ter que acertar umas reads aqui.
Critical turn here.
Doing some of the heavy lifting in that previous turn with Dazzling Gleams.
O lado bom é que tem dois Chien-Paos em campo, então o Amoonguss está super debuffado. Deu Icicle Crash. Flinch. Não flinchou. É, eu acho que perdeu então o alemão.
Into the Frigoraph, so not able to follow up with one of those Dazzling Gleams, and Amoonguss left alone to cause problems.
É, acho que perdeu o alemão.
Landing a Spore into that Chien-Pao.
Oh, that's a tough spot. Now we see how damaged this Rillaboom is. That Chien-Pao not just falling asleep, but not getting to use any of the turns of the sleep on that. So even if the Rillaboom were say to go for a protect here,
na verdade não, tem jogo ainda. Porque Fake Out é free no Chien-Pao e o Chien-Pao pode acordar no próximo turno e ganhar Speed Tie. Tem jogo ainda, chat. O play é Fake Out, gastar o turno de Zip com o Chien-Pao e no próximo turno ele tentar vencer Speed Tie.
I don't know if Rillaboom even wants to try and go for a Woodhammer. Getting rid of Amoonguss would be great, but is it worth it when it's one of your last two Pokemon? Chien-Pao starting off though with a Sacred Sword. That is down to...
Mas não deu Fake Out.
It's already looking pretty dicey. This
agora acho que já foi, então.
In game one, obviously has to take that turn of sleep. Didn't act after the Spore. Rillaboom though will just go for it with the Woodhammer. Does get the knockout onto Chien-Pao, so does start to level things up a little bit, but it's so weak after that recoil does hit. As Amoonguss will double up onto the Chien-Pao. If you're in for a penny, you're in for a pound. You may as well get that knocked out just to make sure it doesn't wake up and cause...
Eu acho que o Relabum tinha que ter dado Fake Out, não batido com o Hammer. Pra gastar o turno garantido de Zip do Chien-Pao, tentar acordar e vencer Speed Tie. Agora já foi. Talvez ele não tenha Fake Out, pode ser isso também, né?
It is a 2v1 situation though, and Rillaboom, it's got some grassy terrain healing, but it's not really healed enough to put it in a great position as Urshifu takes the field. Not like you can sit and...
É meio sad o fato do cara ter perdido a primeira partida por causa de 30% de chance de flinch. Aliás, eu nem sei se é 30% de fato. Não lembro se esse Icicle Crash é 30 ou se é menos do que isso.
One surging strike to bring it down to 2. The second one will get the fourth and final knockout of the game. Shohei Kimura up 1-0 here in the Masters Finals.
É 30%? 30% de perder 100% o jogo. Nice. Essa girafa pesou demais, fez nada. Não, mas ela não fez nada porque o cara levou flinch, cara.
Unable to act, would have dealt with that Amoonguss, which caused so many problems in the end game. Feeling pretty good about this one. Shohei getting cheeky with the sucker punch. Does miss an Icicle Crash Farigiraf does wake up, but it's just not able
Se o Rillaboom não tivesse levado o flinch, ela teria feito alguma coisa e teria subido o Triqueron. Entretanto, eu ainda acho que o play do Triqueron ia ser meio que ruim, cara. Na verdade não ia não, para pra pensar, porque ele não setou o Triqueron pro Rillaboom, ele setou o Triqueron pra própria Farigiraf. Porque a Farigiraf tem Dazzling e os dois últimos Pokémons eram fracos contra a Fairy. E ela se protege de Sucker Punch Priority do Chien-Pao. E o Chien-Pao do japonês não tem como tocar Farigiraf sob Triqueron, para pra pensar. Porque ele não tem Crush, ele é Sucker Punch. Sim, exatamente. O Shade meio que resumiu o que eu acabei de falar. A Farigiraf ia vencer aquela partida, mas o Flinch impediu. Deve ser frustrante você chegar na final do Mundial e perder por causa disso. Mas ao mesmo tempo, pelo menos vice-campeão ganha um bom dinheiro pra levar pra casa. E é quanto no VGC? Eu acho que é 5 mil dólares, não? Aliás, não, 5 mil dólares é o IC. Eu acho que o Mundial é 10 mil.
Could have done a whole lot more, but then getting caught with that sport was a problem. It's going to be the same lead for Shohei, and it's going to be a mix-up for Michael. We're already seeing a brand new Pokemon. He's got to do something different here in game number 2. He's bought the Dragapult once again, this time pairing it up with the Urshifu, and it's going to be the same Chien-Pao and Amoonguss for Shohei.
Sort of a sneaky position on either side here, where a lot of things could happen.
O campeão do Unite leva 100k, mas o campeão do Unite são 5 jogadores, mais um técnico, alguma coisa assim, né, cara? Então é 100k dividido por 6, talvez 7 pessoas.
On the other side of the field, currently there's no Farigiraf, right? So the threat of a sucker punch is significant, but it could be in the back, so do you risk clicking it?
It's certainly a dicey one, but if you can get an advantage here, you could really be accelerating yourself towards a world championship. Chien-Pao once again leaves the field, just comes in.
E esse ano passado foi 25k? Ô, louco. Ok, a Mundial da terraça de novo, pelo visto, certo? Não, foi o Dragapult. Ok, vai vir Terra Blast, então. Isso aí foi arriscado do Michael, mas deu certo. Porque o cara não deu Sucker Punch. Ok, a Mungas Gone turno 1 vai ser muito bom, cara. Não vai ter mais redirecionamento nem Spore. E eu acho que nocauteia, que é Bender Polt. Sword of Fury não tá ativado, mas ainda assim, cara, um Bender Polt literalizado. Nocauteia, please. Ah, não nocauteou que levou Spore. Oh, mano! Arruma esse jogo, Game Freak! Dá pra ver claramente que o Among Us deu Spore antes de dar Spore, cara. Como que os caras ganham tanto dinheiro pra fazer um jogo tão merda como esse? Eu literalmente tiltei, cara. Que trash game! Arruma esse jogo, Game Freak.
And Shohei did all that without having to give up his terastallization, being able to hold on to that for the rest of
Não, daqui não teve RNG. O Among Us só tancou.
Big turn for Shohei there. Also, this Dragapult once again looks really vulnerable.
Yeah, I'm not loving the situation, and I think an important thing to keep in mind too is Amoonguss is the Pokemon that took damage, right? Amoonguss, if it switches out of battle...
Eu acho que o Michael vai perder de novo. Ele precisava tanto desse Dragapult, já deu terraço e agora tá dormindo.
Not gonna let that Dragapult go down so easily in this one. Switching it out for the Farigiraf, so it is still a key player. Urshifu will surging strike to the opposing Urshifu, just trying to get some damage down on that side of things and see what he's able to do. I am curious as to what the Amoonguss is targeting, but not very effective hits aren't really a big problem here. See 3 critical hits, not enough to the threatening knockouts. As Urshifu surging strikes will land into Farigiraf, they're going to do a whole lot more in this one, but activate the wrong...
Aí ó, o Urshifu levou Spore, eu não sei se vocês perceberam, mas deu pra ver que o Urshifu levou Spore. Que esse jogo é bugado. Aí ó, como que eu sabia que o Urshifu levou Spore, chat? Como será que eu sabia? O Urshifu já tá dormindo faz 2 turnos, exatamente.
going to be a really tough one. But the Rocky helmet is going to add up. I mean, it's 3 hits. He got way more than he bargained for in that turn, taking so much recoil damage just off that fantastic item choice.
Still, it's a really tough spot on Michael's side of the field.
Não, sim, o Scarlet, o Sword Shield foi bem melhor que o Scarlet Violet, cara. Sem meme. Mas enfim, no, tipo, essa partida já acabou, cara, infelizmente. Vai ser 2 rap japonês, não tem como o Michael virar, cara.
But it is definitely threatened. Urshifu will surging strikes once again into the Farigiraf, so it's gonna make that trade, right? It's gonna make sure that he gets the Farigiraf down.
O Michael não tem mais speed control, que o Poke tá dormindo. Kimura ainda tem Terasol. Acabou essa partida já.
As it's a straight trade in that one.
Well, I love the move, though. I mean, we're getting very close to a sweep from Team Japan here. We have 2 sleeping Pokemon and 1 unrevealed Pokemon left on Michael's side of the field. Whatever that Pokemon is, it's going to have to do a lot to send us to a Game 3.
It's also going to have to work through this Amoonguss, which is back and looking healthier than ever. It's going up against the Chien-Pao, which is not going to appreciate the presence of that Fluttermane right now. Maybe forced to try and work
a
little bit more. Urshifu staying asleep. That Urshifu probably needs to wake up and get involved soon.
Oh yeah, really soon. And it can't this turn, right? This Amoonguss is a fantastic spot now where it switched into battle. It got that healing from a generator. We haven't seen the terastallization committed on that side of the field yet, so you know, a Rage Powder could look pretty devastating here. Fluttermane can now just start like wailing away with dazzling gleams against a lot of Pokemon that aren't going to take those very well.
No, they're not going to appreciate it very much, so a lot of work that can be done by the Fluttermane and a lot of reliance on the Chien-Pao to try and get the job done right here. Needs to try and find some of those knockouts, maybe make some big calls, some big reads. We are going to get into the terastallization from...
Se ganhasse usar terraça sem esculacho, não tem por que ele fazer isso. Da terraça do Among Us e Rage Powder é garantido o game. Porque esse Among Us nunca vai cair.
It does get itself nice and safe. Chien-Pao wanting to scout out what's going on, making sure that it's not able to get anything really nasty sent its way. Amoonguss will be redirecting attention with that Rage Powder. Urshifu remaining asleep, and I don't think Urshifu's going to appreciate what's coming next from the Fluttermane. It is, of course, the Dazzling Gleam into the protect of the Chien-Pao, and there the Urshifu is not loving it. An easy knockout for Shohei Kimura.
Foi triste essa partida, cara. Realmente triste.
Fight back in the following turn. It just protected. I don't know if it has a good answer to the side of this Amoonguss and the Fluttermane right now.
O cara literalmente perdeu por causa de 30% do primeiro jogo. Era pra só estar 1-1 agora, mas Pokémon é assim, né? Eu acho que o Japão é o maior vencedor de VGC agora, né? Que eu tava empatado com os Estados Unidos. Eu acho que eles empataram agora.
Potentially moving. It is dropped down to its focus sash thanks to that dazzling gleam from the side of the Fluttermane. It's got 1 turn to make an impact. It will crunch. It goes into the Amoonguss. It doesn't get any secondary effects. So Pollen Puff will take out the Chien-Pao, and all Michael Kelch has remaining.
Não, a Cina não foi triste não, cara. A Cina, mesmo tendo muita RNG, o cara ia perder de qualquer maneira. O matchup tava horrível pro cara. É, Japão venceu as 3 divisões, cara. Em casa ainda.
Pokémon World Champion.
3 vencedores japoneses do próprio Japão. Suspeito isso aí.